I wanted to start this video picking up where I left off on my last videos, so I hope you go watch those because they were very eye-opening, putting all the pieces of the puzzle of the mark of the beast system and the beast. All of that is coming together, and I showed clearly how these pieces fit. I wanted to talk about how God said He would send a strong delusion to those who refuse to believe the gospel and believe the truth. And this pastor says, the terrifying reality is that God will seal the fate of those who hate the gospel by sending upon them a deluding influence so that they will believe what is false. And we know that the Antichrist is the great deceiver, and he will sentence unbelievers to accept evil as if it were good and lies as if they were truth. Those who continually choose falsehood will be intrinsically caught by it. They will be abandoned by God to the consequences of their choice to reject the gospel. The pastor goes on to say, in the future, God will again use Satan as an instrument of His judgment in order that they all may be judged who did not believe the truth but took pleasure in wickedness. And that is what these leaders are doing right now, is great wickedness. And they're they're elated every time they get away with something. Satan will, through the Antichrist and false prophet, delude the world into believing the lie that the Antichrist is God. God sending a deception is only part of the account. Two other aspects are clear. Satan is involved, 2 Thessalonians 2:9, and this delusion applies to those who did not believe the truth, in verse 12. It is incorrect to simply say God tricks those people. Instead, those who are influenced by Satan and do not believe are among those who accept the delusion God will send into the world during this time. God desires for all to be saved. So let me just read 2 Thessalonians 2:9-12. The coming of the lawless one is by the activity of Satan with all power and false signs and wonders, and with all wicked deception for those who are perishing, because they refuse to love the truth and so be saved. Therefore, God sends them a strong delusion so that they may believe what is false, in order that all may be condemned who did not believe the truth but had pleasure in unrighteousness. What, by definition, is a delusion? It's defined as a belief or altered reality that is persistently held despite evidence or agreement to the contrary, generally in reference to a mental disorder. And it's also said that a delusion is a belief that is clearly false and that indicates an abnormality in the affected person's content of thought. The false belief is not accounted by the person's cultural or religious background or his or her level of intelligence. These are just some of the definitions of the word delusion. Delusions are often reinforced by the misinterpretation of events. Many delusions also involve some level of paranoia. For example, someone might contend that the government is controlling our every move via radio waves despite evidence to the contrary. And it's interesting that they put types of delusions in verywellhealth.com, something I just looked up. I don't know anything about this website other than this definition is interesting. Delusions are defined as fixed, false beliefs that conflict with reality. With delusions, you cannot tell the difference between what is real and what is not real. Despite contrary evidence, a person in a delusional state can't let go of their convictions. So you might say that, the Roman emperors and Pharaoh, all of those people that believed that they were gods were delusional. And they had a grandiose vision of themselves as being something out of this world. And Pharaoh even thought that he was the creator of, the Nile River, which was a source of life for all of Upper, Lower, and Middle Egypt. Now listen to this psychological definition of what a delusion is in psychology. And we see all of these people implementing all of these insane ideas, crazy things that normal people are looking at going, what has happened to our world? These people must be insane. Well, that is part of a delusion. Delusions often occur as part of psychotic disorders, including schizophrenia and bipolar disorder. Delusions may also be a symptom of delusional disorder, which is a rare condition when a person has one or more delusional thoughts for 1 month or more that has no explanation by another physiological issue, is not substance-induced or part of other mental health condition. And interestingly, delusions are categorized according to different types and often include some common themes. There are several different types of delusions. I'll just give you these examples. One is called ertemtic delusions. Happen when someone is fixated on the idea that another person is intensely in love with them. The other person may be a celebrity, wealthy, or of a high social position. And this fixation on being loved by the other person is considered delusional because it's not based in reality. So they kind of believe by a delusion that someone loves them that they don't even know. Another type of delusion is grandiose. People that are experiencing grandiose delusion sees themselves as great, highly accomplished, more important than others, or even magical. Also known as a delusion of grandeur. This is a person's belief that they have special abilities, possessions, or powers, despite a lack of evidence. So that would fall into some of these leaders that think that they're gods, or that are always bragging about their accomplishments, making themselves grander than they really are, or saying that they're a god. This is a person's belief that they have these special abilities, possessions, or powers despite a lack of evidence. For the belief to be a delusion, it must be unreasonable and incorrect. For example, a person who claims to be President of the United States when they clearly are not is an example of a delusion of grandeur, obviously. I would say that Pharaoh, when he said that he created the Nile River, that was a delusion of grandeur. And a lot of the leaders and elites and billionaires are exhibiting these signs of grandeur. They're more and more power hungry, and they actually think they're better than the rest of society. So they want to destroy the middle class and elevate themselves. So that's an idea of grandeur. Then there's jealous delusions. Delusional jealousy is thinking that is marked by constant suspicion that the loved one is guilty of infidelity. This may be accompanied by constantly harassing the loved one with questions and accusations about how they spend the day, where they went, and who they spoke with. Now, this is kind of interesting because if you think about what I said about the system that they're setting up with the carbon, the 666, all of this is trying to control every little element of everyone's life, including their thermostat, what kind of car they can drive or not drive, whether they can use gasoline. And I wanted to mention this because I left this out of my other video. I don't want to get off on a rabbit trail, but one of the things that happened, I would say it was kind of in the late 90s, was that our water heater went out at home. And when they came to replace it, I was talking to the technician, and he was putting in the new water heater, and he told me that they were now only allowed to put this one component in the water heaters that did not allow the water to get as hot as it used to. So that meant that your showers wouldn't last as long and be as hot as long, or to be the balance of heat that you wanted. You basically had to hurry up and take a shower because they were manufacturing these new components, and they were coming up from Mexico because that's where they were getting the cheap labor, and they were putting these in the new water heaters in the United States so that people's amount of heat, once again, that's one of the targets of the carbon footprint issue. They did not want you to have as hot a water. Now, when the Jews make things kosher, they use really scalding water to purify and cleanse things because it kills germs. So using it in the kitchen and having it colder, not nearly as scalding hot, then you don't kill those germs, and then you can guess what happens from there. But I just wanted to say that because it shows that they've been implementing these things little by little by little. They also tried to change my mom's thermostat to a digital one, and we had a manual one that was the old type. Well, she put that digital one on and absolutely hated it because it wasn't working properly and it would not function to go to the right temperature. And we didn't keep the temperature anywhere over 70 or anything. But she had that removed and the old one put back on because they didn't make them like the old ones. So that's how they're trying to regulate that. Now they want to put the smart thermostat in your house. And I believe that they will regulate that eventually to be able to shut off your heat when they want to, so that you can't heat your home to the degree that you want. So these are all areas of control. So these jealous, delusional people, they become focused on gathering proof against people and often become increasingly controlling of people's movements. Now this is usually between a husband and wife or something. They're controlling their partner. But just think about how this is exactly what these leaders are doing. They're becoming increasingly controlling of our movements and our contact with others. Got to stay 6 feet apart. Can't have Thanksgiving. Can't have Christmas. Oh, it's canceled because we're leaving all the goods over there on all the barges sitting over there in the Pacific Ocean. This is a delusion that these psychotic people are under. And they often, they do this to the point of trying to confine them to the home. Oh, are you kidding me? Lockdowns, you can't leave your home. This is jealous delusion. This is a psychosis that the leaders are exhibiting. Unbelievable. The next type of delusion is persecutory. When someone experiences persecutory delusions, they believe a person or group wants to hurt them. They firmly believe this is true despite lack of proof. Whether people with this condition think coworkers are sabotaging their work or they believe the government's trying to kill them, persecutory delusions vary in severity. Some individuals with persecutory delusions believe they have to go to great lengths to stay safe, and consequently, they may struggle to function normally. It's not uncommon for people with this type of delusion to make repeated complaints to legal authorities. So you got all these people with the, they want to create the world court, and they want to accuse people and bring them in to their court and judge them and do all of this stuff. So that's interesting. Somatic is the next type of delusion. They have a false belief related to one or more bodily organs, such as the organs are functioning improperly or are diseased, injured, or otherwise altered. It's not uncommon to worry about catching a contagious disease or developing a rare illness, but somatic type delusions are much more convincing, consistent, and compelling than these fleeting and temporary fears. So that's what they're using to fearmonger, to tell you, you know, oh, there's a variety over here that's unleashed, and now there's one over here. Oh my gosh. You know, now it just showed up in California. Oh my gosh. You know, and then there are people that are really paranoid about it, and then they terrify them with these thoughts that they're going to catch it, they're going to die, you know, and they just work on these fears. Most people who experience them find it impossible to acknowledge they are not real and tend to resist any facts that contradict or undermine their delusional belief, even if these facts can be conclusively and scientifically proven. Then there's mixed or unspecified delusions. Don't fall into a single category, and no single theme dominates. The delusions are considered mixed. They call these unspecified when delusions don't fall into a specific category. Not all delusions are the same. Some might involve non-bizarre beliefs that could theoretically occur in real life. Others may be bizarre. That's exactly what I've been saying about what these leaders are doing. It's just bizarre. It's fantastical or impossible, such as having your thoughts broadcast on television or being abducted by aliens. And of course, they put forth a lot of these alien type themes, and that's the next type of delusion, themes. In addition to these categories, delusions can often manifest according to a consistent theme. Although delusions can have any theme, certain themes are more common, and these include influence, the false belief that other people or external agents are covertly exerting powers over oneself. Now, I can see this how something I'm going to show you about the 666 is that people are being influenced by other people in their country, by gamers, by these Nft'S and the cryptocurrency and what they're bringing in with these images. They're influencing each other, and they're convincing each other that these things are good. And I'll show you in a minute what I mean. But it says love. A person has delusions that someone else is in love with them. Let's see. Guilt and unworthiness. When an individual believes that they are bad or evil or have ruined their family despite evidence to support this, this is commonly seen in those with depressive illness. Grandiose religion. This delusional ideation frequently includes beliefs that the individual is the embodiment of a notable religious figure, such as a messiah or prophet. We know that the Antichrist is suffering from this grandiose delusion that they're the Messiah and a false prophet, and that they possess these certain special powers, so they'll be deceiving people by performing false signs, miracles, and wonders. So that fits in with that psychosis. Paranoia, any of the variety of beliefs around being threatened, tenaciously sustained, even in the face of incontrovertible evidence to the contrary. Negation, nihilistic, the delusion of non-existence, a fixed belief that the mind, body, or the world at large, or parts thereof, no longer exists. And if you ask me, that goes along with all of the paranoia of these leaders saying, we only have 12 years to save the planet, the earth. If we don't do something by 6 months from now, it's going to be too late. Ah. Okay. I think I read somatic, a false belief related to one or more bodily organs that are functioning improperly. So when they create these fears in people, worldwide, causing them to stay in their homes, which is part of the psychosis, delusion. That's unbelievable to me that that fits. Then these people, you know, they're so fearful, they become so fearful that they're going to catch it and that they're going to die, and they perpetrate all these ideas, so people are so afraid they stop their activities, which is part of the carbon footprint issue. Stay at home because it's part of their delusion. And what causes delusions? Researchers aren't exactly sure what causes delusional states. It appears a variety of genetic, biological, psychological, environmental factors are involved. Psychotic disorders seem to run in families, so researchers suspect there is a genetic component to delusions. Children born to a parent with schizophrenia, for example, may be at higher risk of developing delusions. And of course, we see that with a lot of the Roman Caesars, that it ran in their families. So clearly, there's different types of delusions, and different pieces of the different delusions come into play when God sends these people a strong delusion, and they will believe a lie. So obviously people are influenced by other people. You know, these Nft'S are becoming more and more popular with the cryptocurrency, and now they're adding the spiritual gods that are going to be on these, and people are now putting 666 on their Nft'S, which is shocking to me. And they're putting horror pictures from horror movies with that, or just putting that number on there because they think it's lucky. Now, one thing I just discovered was that in China, they love the number 666. The gamers love it, and they popularized it, and now they think it is like a lucky charm. So they are putting this all on all kinds of advertising, the number 666, including their cryptocurrency, their Nft'S, the non-fungible tokens, which I talked about in one of my other videos where I was revealing that they're putting these false gods on these images of false gods, including a false Jesus image. And anybody else that has a religion, they're putting any kind of those gods on it. So it's apparent that the 666 is already in play. It's already being put on the cryptocurrency by these people that are creating their own artwork, or, you know, using certain false god images. That's just one aspect of it. They're also taking, I mean, any kind of product, any kind of name of a product, like the soup can, you know, the soda that you drink. All of these companies, tennis shoe companies, sports companies, they're all now taking their logos, taking their images, and they're now putting it with the Nft'S so they can trade or whatever they do. I don't really know that whole system. But they are using that as a form of gaining monetary funds. So the strange thing is that the number 666 is extremely popular in China, apparently, and I'm just going to show you a couple of things about that I filmed with my camera last night, things that I found online. And there are some Chinese pastors who actually believe that their leader is the AC. So I don't know if that's true or not. I know he's claimed to be a god, which shows a grandiose delusion. And we also know that George Soros is claimed to be some sort of god or a messianic figure. And that's also a grandiose delusion. We also know that several other people have grandiose ideas about themselves, and they're all working this Antichrist system that's coming together, including former presidents, including world leaders, including the billionaire techies, and you know who I'm talking about, the four big ones. One of the things I just found out that really kind of shocked me is because 666 is the number of carbon that has the 6 electrons, 6 protons, 6 neutrons, they're already using that in forest conservation as the code number. I hope you heard that. They are putting these rules and regulations in the forestry industry where these people have to comply, and they have to do all of these things to comply with, you know, clearing out the forest of, you know, dead wood, leaving certain logs that animals can use as a habitation. They have to leave the forest floor with a certain amount of debris on it so that, you know, it can reforest itself. And I'm going to show you some of that. But all through this form that they had to fill out to show that they're complying. Now this was put in place, I believe, in August of 2019. And there are certain standards of conservation that they have to follow. And the code is already E666H. But down below in the form that I'm going to show you, it literally tells you that the code for this conservation of the forestry is code number 666. So they're already putting that in place, and dealing with the forestry industry, they're dealing with the carbon that's in the forest and farmlands. That's extending to the farms as well, and the ag lands. So that's already a code number that they're using already. So now all of that whole gigantic thing, like a beast, comes together. So you have the monetary part, which creates the one world religion part, which creates the mark of the beast part, and the image of the beast that's coming. You've got world control because of the carbon, and I believe that they're going to use the Nft'S. If you can become a god or whatever, they're going to put these images along with, you know, what I told you was that the word for mark of the beast, mark is charagma in Greek. Let me just show you from Thayer's Greek lexicon. And this is what I told you that I discovered about the charagma, was that it not only means those scratch, etching, stamp as a badge of servitude, but it can also be or a sculptured figure, statue, graven mark. In other words, it's some sort of image included with the number 666 that is a graven image of an idolatrous sculptured figure or statue. And that's what they've done with these Nft'S and the monetary system. And now I'm finding all over that they're putting the number 666 with their Nft'S, with their images. Is that incredible? That literally does say that it can be the same as Carax, a scratch or etching, stamp as a badge of servitude, or sculptured figure, statue, a graven mark, which is an idolatrous image of a sculpture. And this is what they're doing with the Nft'S. They've made some images out of clay. Basically what it is anybody that's an artist or anybody that has a collection of artwork can take that artwork and create these Nft'S where they can work in a new type of digital monetary system where they have their own images and they can put their own number of 666 on it if they want to. And that's what they're doing. They had some horrible images of horror movies with the number 666 attached because they know they belong to the devil. And in China, apparently they love the number 666. So they're being sent a strong delusion to believe that the 666 has nothing to do with Satan. But they're under a delusion because they have not been saved. And I'm sorry to say that if they don't turn it around quickly in their lives and give their life to Christ, they're going to die in their sins, and it's going to be over with. And this is going to be millions and millions of people. The Chinese love the number 666 because of gamers that are using it. And they say it has nothing to do with Satan or the devil, that it has everything to do with something exciting and happy and, amazing. This website says why Chinese people are obsessed with 666. And it says the Chinese internet loves 666. They say that its slang became popular online and then a phenomenon offline. The whole thing, if you look up the Nft'S, it's taken off like crazy. People are using art. Artists are getting involved in the NFT digital currency so that they can have a different type of currency that's digital, and that they can have a piece of the pie because of their artwork. And that explains charagma for the mark of the beast. And sculptured images, statues, sculptured figures. And then they're putting these as images on the currency. Listen to what it says about charagma in Englishman's Concordance in Acts 17:29 in the NAS King James Version in INT. It says, an image formed by the art, graven by art, and a graven thing, a craft. That definition right there of charagma in Acts 17:29, when it says, it uses the word stone right before it says, an image formed by the art, graven by art, and a graven thing, a craft. So the mark is going to be something formed by artwork, an artist. And that's exactly what the new digital currency is doing. And not only are they bringing in the religious aspect where they're trying to create through that system a one world religion, but also they're now putting the 666 as a number on their NFTs. So it's developed exceedingly fast and was far more accelerated than I realized. But if you check out the NFTs and you look all that up, you'll see all the artwork of artists is coming into play. And that's exactly the definition of charagma, the Greek word for the mark of the beast. Now I'm just going to show you a little bit of the Forestry thing that has the code 666 already set in place, that's been in place to control the what I said was the forestry conservation worldwide. Also they're doing that here in America, basically. And they had the form, and that's what I'm going to show you. That they had to have somebody inspect to make sure these people were implementing what they're supposed to be implementing for the carbon issue. And they have to pass this certain standard of the work they've done in the forestry area. Now this also, like I said, applies to the ag land, farmland, so that it's going to affect the farmers, and they already are using code 666. I wanted to show this to you because this is put out by the USDA. It's the Conservation Enhancement Activity Conservation Stewardship Program. And the number that they have for it is E666H, Increase On-Site Carbon Storage. Right here it says Conservation Practice 666, Forest Stand Improvement. After it gives the number E666H, it says Increase On-Site Carbon Storage. Application Land Use, Forest, Associated Ag Land, Farmstead. Resource Concern, Air and Soil. Enhancement Lifespan, 10 years. This was put out August of 2019, and it's a form to fill out. And after that blue line, it says Enhancement Description. Use forest management techniques to maintain and increase on-site carbon storage. Criteria. States will apply general criteria from the NRCS National Conservation Practice Standard. Forest Stand Improvement Code 666 as listed below, and additional criteria as required by the NRCS state office. Well, you get the idea. This is the third page, and it says documentation and implementation requirements. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but let me just read this line right here. Prior to implementation review, NRCS Conservation Practice Standard Forest Stand Improvement Code 666 that contains information needed to meet criteria for this enhancement. And of course on the last page here it says, prior to implementation, provide and explain the following NRCS Conservative Practice Standards, CPS, as they relate to implementing this enhancement. The first one is Forest Stand Improvement, Code 666. Down here at the bottom it says, this is the NRCS Documentation Review. I have reviewed all required participant documentation and have determined the participant has implemented the enhancement and met all criteria and requirements. And then this person that has to sign their name and gives the year and all the technical adequacy signature. And down here, I don't know if you can see this in blue. Hang on. Right down here. This is the name of this document, E666H, Increase On-Site Carbon Storage, August 2019. Now please look at this. Conservation Practice Standard 666, Forest Stand Improvement. And then we have this one here, Conservation Practice Standard 666, Office Technical Guide for Missouri Natural Resources Conservation Service, Conservation Practice Standard Forest Stand Improvement, Code 666. This all has to do with the carbon issue, which of course, as we know, it's been revealed that carbon is represented in the 666 in the 6 neutrons, 6 protons, and 6 electrons. This one says WV NRCS Farm Bill Programs Forestry. This was dated September 9th, 2019. Primary NRCS Conservation Programs for Forest. WVNRCS Forest Conservation Programs. Forest Stand Improvement 666 Job Sheet. Howard County Forest Service Program, Bill 666, That's the State Bill 666. They have Sample Forest Stewardship Plan, State of Michigan. And then it says code number 666. And now I want to show you something that kind of shocked me. I was looking up something about the Nft'S, which are non-fungible tokens that I spoke about in my other video when I said that they had a new spiritual religious aspect of these false god images that they were putting on the Nft'S. Now, apparently they can do any artwork, and I just saw this one here, and this one is called Crypto Eye. Is an NFT collection created by a reputable scientist whose research output is currently in use in clinics globally. And each Crypto Eye has a size of 18 by 37 pixels, containing a total of 666 pixels. In addition, there are a total of 666 unique digital collectibles generated programmatically using MATLAB, a proprietary paradigm programming language and numeric computing environment. Unlike Python scripts that generate pixel art, these eyes did not rely on base layers, but instead generated through matrix manipulation of binary numbers. No two are exactly alike, and each can be owned by a single person. The Crypto Eye was inspired by the eye on the $1 bill, one of the most powerful symbols known to many cultures that can indicate good, evil, wisdom, protection, knowledge, secrecy, and mystery. The number 666, another multicultural symbol, is used by Chinese gamers to commend skillful play. On the other hand, 666 is cryptically referred to as the mark, name, or number of beast, and said to mark the forehead or the right hand of all who buy or sell, interpreted as a symbol for Roman Empire. It is the first instance of the eye used in a generative art project with custom on-chain and cryptographically secure provenance. So that's just one of them. So they can use any artwork, and this guy's got this flashing eyeball. And you can see up here it says 666 Crypto Eye Collection. That's just one of them. So they are under a strong delusion already. These people that think it's fun to use 666 because they think it's going to bring them luck. That's what the Chinese gamers believe. And they're putting it all over cartoons and advertisements and everything over there in China. I was really shocked. And they don't think there's anything wrong with it, so they've been given a strong delusion. Now, I'm not saying all Chinese people. I'm just saying there's a certain element of the society that's going the way south. They're going down. And, you know, obviously the Chinese Christians are not into that, and they're aware of their leader possibly being the AC, because he's already proclaimed he's God, but then there's other people that have those delusions. So everything that they're doing, that they're using, the fear-mongering, the causing you to stay at home because they have these jealous, they don't want you to have more money than they do, so they're taking down the middle class and raising and elevating themselves into a grandiose, egocentric, billionaire status, elite, so that they can rule the world. Like, you know, when I was a kid, all of the cartoons were all about some evil group that was trying to take over the world, and, you know, they'd have some sort of little thing that they could control the world with. You know, they would show the world and we're going to control it. Well, that's exactly the delusion these people are under. And you can see that there's different types of delusions, and so I don't think God's going to just send them one strong delusion. I think it's going to be a delusion here, there, and it's all going to come together this delusion that 666 is a good lucky number is a delusion to trap people, to take them down to hell. They'll be damned. And it's setting it up for when the time comes where they actually put it on the hand and the forehead. The mark it. Ding, ching. And also, what I wanted to say about the NFTs is they're now making them and this artwork to where it is wearable. So you can wear it on your body. And where is that going to lead other than to the market, the IHS market, which I explained to you was the Jesuits, which leads to the Pope, which leads to the lead doctor that's been lying over and over and over again to the world, and these implementations of these lockdowns to keep people from traveling. And they're all under some psychotic, delusional grandeur of their own making, because once they received a certain amount of power, they thought they needed to be on top and they needed to have all power. In essence, making themselves like a god. But they're going to come crashing down. So listen what's going to happen to this beast. The beast was captured, and with it the false prophet who had performed the signs on its behalf. With these signs he had deluded those who had received the mark of the beast and worshipped his image. The two of them were thrown alive into the fiery lake, or the lake of fire, of burning sulfur. That's the NIV version of Revelation 19:20. So this is the King James version of Revelation 19:20. And the beast was taken, and with him the false prophet that wrought miracles before him, with which he deceived them that had received the mark of the beast, and them that worshipped his image. These both were cast alive into a lake of fire, burning with brimstone. So the people that are going to take the 666, and the NFTs are now wearable. So that includes not only an image, it includes the number of the beast, the 666, and it includes the fact that it's now wearable on your body, and that it has to do with buying and selling. All of that has already come together. Now it just is going to be not only wearable, but it's going to be put like a permanent thing on your hand, on your right hand or your forehead. Let me just read to you a definition from the Wikipedia about fire and brimstone, which is Gafrit Vaish in Hebrew. And it is an idiomatic expression referring to God's wrath, found in both the Hebrew Bible and the Christian New Testament. In the Bible, it often appears in references to the fate of the unfaithful. Brimstone, an archaic term synonymous with sulfur, evokes the acrid odor of sulfur dioxide given off by lightning strikes. Lightning was understood as divine punishment by many ancient religions. The association of sulfur with divine retribution is common in the Bible. Now, somebody actually sent me a piece of the brimstone from the area of the Dead Sea region, which is where Sodom and Gomorrah had been, but they were an investigator checking out the archaeological find that they found there. But brimstone, man now calls it sulfur, is a lemon yellow colored stone, and it means burning stone, or the stone that burns. So interesting, it used the word stone right before it mentioned the mark of the beast. When a plain brimstone is exposed to the air, nothing happens. But if a match is put to it, it will burn in a peculiar way, like a liquid fire, and it emits noxious fumes. The stone melts like wax, but the dripping is peculiar, thick fire, like a piece of wax on fire. As it burns, it has a rich fluorescent type, deep cobalt bluish color. It is an interesting, sticky, acidy type burning fire. The little drops burn for some time. Ancient peoples sometimes used brimstone as a type of match. A burning match held under a brimstone causes it to catch on fire. It then melts and drips like wax and gives off fumes that do something to your nostrils. This person that wrote this from biblicalscholarship.com says, I know because I burned some. The brimstones that I have are about 1.5 inches long and maybe an inch wide. The fumes should not be breathed in. It is dangerous. And they said they read on the internet that the fumes from burning sulfur are toxic and dangerously irritating. Sulfur dioxide, they said they do not know if that's the correct term, is going to give you a choking feeling and you will not be able to bear it. In excess, it can lead to permanent respiratory problems and death due to choking. Now, of course, the lake of fire is something you see in the center of the volcanic eruption when there is a big lake of fire. When you look down and you see that lava flow down there, the magma coming up is a lake of fire. And brimstone starts out in the molten rock under the Earth's surface. It spews out in the lava of volcanoes and often comes to the surface of the Earth from volcanoes and hot springs. Sulfur deposits have been found on the Italian island of Sicily, where it lay near the surface of the Earth, and also Louisiana, deep underground near the Gulf of Mexico. Too much sulfur dioxide in the air can kill people when they breathe it in. It causes choking and suffocation. It causes the throat and breathing passages to become irritated and closed up. So now in the Bible, in the King James Version, we learn that the role of brimstone in eternity, hell, and death, and all the wicked are going to be cast into the lake of fire that burneth with fire and brimstone. This is the second death. We all have to die the first time. Sin requires that. But if a person dies without the Lord Jesus Christ, he will die a second time. But he will not die to go to sleep. He will continually be burning and tormented forever. When unrepentant sinners die now, they go to hell. But at the end, when the Lord judges the world, hell and death, and the wicked shall be cast into the lake of fire. Sin is when people break God's commandments, like when they lie, steal, rob, covet, etc. All of us have sinned and come short of the glory of God, but God does not want to cast us in hell. That is why he sent his Son, the Lord Jesus Christ, to shed his blood to pay for our sins. The Lord Jesus Christ did not remain dead. He rose from the dead on the third day, and if we put our trust in him and obey his word, we will be saved, and we will go to heaven when we die. And to be in heaven is to dwell in the divine presence of the God who loves us unconditionally. What I find really interesting about that judgment with brimstone is causing people to constantly wear these that don't keep out anything. They don't do any good. You know, this bit. They're causing people to choke. I can't breathe with that on. So what do they tell you? Some false lie. Wear 2 of them. And then don't wear any of them. It's okay if you don't wear it. Then it's 1. Wear 1 again, you know. And now we're implementing that mandate. Now we're keeping people 6 feet apart, which is part of the delusion of that, you know, people are standing too close to you, you know, and that you got to keep them at home because you're jealous. And, you know, you just don't want the world to have anything. You want to have it all and be a god. One more thing, that the judgment of the brimstone seems appropriate when these people have caused this choking little number to be mandated onto people for, well, we're going on 2 years now with this mandated business that they're implementing through their lies and deception, because they are under grandiose delusions. Because God has given them over to lies. And they're believing it. They're all lining up and they're having joy and putting the 666 on everything. They're advertising and their little digital money, and they're going to be deceived into it because they did not see the truth, because they're not living the truth by believing that Jesus is the Messiah who died for their sins to reverse the curse of Adam and Eve, to take us back into the garden-like state as it was in the beginning before Satan deluded everybody. The very fact that these pieces of fabric over your mouth constantly, breathing back in your carbon dioxide over and over and over again for hours on end, and having it be mandated, and then putting it on little children so that they don't breathe out carbons because these people are delusional, is a fitting judgment of God to have the lake of fire burning with brimstone, which chokes you. It closes off your throat. It causes you to suffocate, to not be able to breathe. What an appropriate judgment for these people is coming. So, they're not going to get away with all of this despicable evil worldwide. And anybody that's participating in it had better shape up, or they're going to be shipped out to the lake of fire with the sulfur burning, the brimstone choking them, because they wouldn't believe. And because they wouldn't believe, they could not see the truth because they are under delusions. And that delusion explains their bizarre, psychotic behavior. Worldwide leaders and billionaires and all of these people doing very weird, strange, bizarre things. It explains it all. Thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting me and my work. And I just hope that you turn your life to Jesus Christ. He's the only name under heaven that you can be saved, because he died for your sins to redeem you back to God so that you could dwell with God forever. Give up these false gods and don't use any mark that is a false Jesus mark, because his name is Yeshua in Hebrew, and that's the name Gabriel gave to Mary and Joseph to name their son, the Messiah. And don't take any mark on your body. Don't take any artwork. With that, I guess I'll sign out for now. I'll probably be posting this later this evening when I'm editing later on today. So I hope you stay away from these things, and I hope it helps you see the big picture of the puzzle going together even more. It's incredibly scary. So we're just trusting in God. And, you know, you can see that the wrath of God includes the sulfur and brimstone coming down as a judgment, along with the hailstones that are 100 pounds. Just a lot of judgments that are coming for these people. So you don't want to be one of them. So you better turn your heart around now and stop believing lies and stop being deceived and deluded by these antichrist spirits that are in the world. Signing out for now. I'll talk to you later.